So typical day for a lot of people. 10 a.m., 3 p.m., you're kind of wiped out. You're in an emotional roller coaster. You'd eat a brick if it had sugar on it. Your spouse thinks you're a space alien. You just have sugar blues. And we're going to talk about how to cut sugar out of your diet. But if you do it, even for like 3 days, it will blow your mind how different you feel and how much better you feel just in 3 days. It does not take a lot of time for your body to recover when you stop poisoning it. So this is kind of typically what happens if you eat a typical breakfast, pancakes or juice. A lot of people drink orange juice, for breakfast. All of these high sugar containing foods. Your blood sugar rises really rapidly. Your body has to produce insulin, and then it drops like a rock. And then that's why at 9 or 10 o'clock again you need a donut or something to pick you back up, because you're in this roller coaster effect. When in fact you want to go for this, which is normal steady glucose levels. And we'll talk about ways you can achieve that. So this is kind of what happens. If you do a high glycemic index food for breakfast, the blood sugar rises rapidly. And like I said, it doesn't take much. One soda is 5 times the amount that should be in the bloodstream. One soda. So if you're eating donuts or whatever else we eat, it doesn't take much. So the insulin rises because the insulin is what gets the blood sugars out of the blood, gets the nutrients to the cells. Well, when that insulin level rises, it tells the adrenal glands to produce cortisol, to produce sugar. Then the blood sugar drops because there's so much insulin in the bloodstream, the blood sugar drops rapidly. And then that triggers the adrenal glands to produce sugar because, you don't have enough sugar in your bloodstream again. So it's this vicious cycle. Okay, that's what happens with Monster Energy drinks or, any of these really sugary foods. And again, whatever your body can't use, it will store as fat. So this is just kind of a repeat. Blood sugars explode. Sugar-soaked brain tells you stress is good, bring it on. Body overproduces insulin to compensate. Blood sugar drops like a rock. Sugar-starved brain tells you I hate my job. What was I trying to remember? Where did I hide that donut? Everyone meets in the kitchen for a 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. sugar fix. And I totally did that when I worked corporate for 8 years. Yeah.
I always heard like an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right?
Uh-huh.
I hear that.
Right.
But then, because they sell breakfast champions up there, and I see donuts and coffee, but I heard, I'm sure it may be kind of like her question earlier. We may find out what the appropriate ways to go about the whole sugar business is. But
right.
Because this doesn't cancel out any of some of the, like an apple. I mean, I'm sure maybe that's coming up later, but because I heard there's a lot of sugar in apples.
It's
too.
Coming up later.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the basic understanding is that if you're going to eat fruit, eat the whole fruit. It has a controlled release of sugar into the bloodstream, like an apple, because you got fiber in it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you drink apple juice, but I always tell people that you never sit down and eat 10 apples at the same time.
And that may be coming
That's
up
what
later.
you're doing when you're drinking apple juice. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So a quick history on sugar. It comes from cane and beets mostly. There's tons of other sources of sugar, but this is what the vast majority of the white sugar that you buy in the grocery store comes from one of these 2 sources. So when are you at the other sugar class? Just you guys? Okay. So you can't answer this question. By 1800, the average sugar consumption was 12 pounds per person. So who has a guess of what it is now?
Where was that?
660.
Throw it out. How much?
660 pounds.
660, okay.
150.
150. Anybody else? 200. If I had a prize, I'd give it to you. This will be your prize
I
later.
just read this the other day. Actually, it said 151.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. So 156 pounds a person. And I wanted to make sense of what that seemed like. So I broke down the math, and it basically comes out to a 1/4 pound of sugar per person per day. 1/4 pound. And keep in mind that there's people that are trying to be healthy that are only eating 50 pounds, so that means somebody else is eating 300 to compensate for that. So, yeah.
It sounds like we should all
Can we
do
talk about
that.
beets for a minute? I thought beets were good and they were red, so how can you get white sugar from it?
Beets are okay. When you process it, it becomes white sugar.
Oh, 'cause you take
Just like when you
everything
process grain that's brown, it turns into white bread. When you process rice, it turns into white rice. They basically pull out all the enzymes, the germ, the bran, everything in it that could possibly decompose so that it can sit on the shelves for months. They pull it out so that it can sit on the shelf.
There's
Yeah.
actually a certain kind of beet. It's not a red beet. It's a white beet. It's called a sugar beet that they grow just for the,
Oh, okay.
for the sugar that's in it.
There you
But the
go.
sugar beets that you buy today are all genetically modified. So do not, even if you buy white sugar,
Yeah.
do not make sure it's from sugar cane. Make sure it's not from sugar beets.
Oh.
Thank you.
Because it's genetically modified.
So, diabetes, heart disease, hypoglycemia, cancer, everything's through the roof. Like I said, there's a number of factors, but I think this is one of the foundation reasons. Just some diabetes statistics. I looked up the current statistic. The most current thing I could find is that 20.8 million people are diagnosed with diabetes.
Is it like the numbers in the US or all over?
No, this is just the U.S. So almost 21 million people in the U.S. have been diagnosed, which means there's millions more
Who are not
that
diagnosed.
have it that have